I'm Tyler Courtney, and this is The Skinny.
From the Fatheads Eyewear Studios in Speedway, Indiana, this is The Skinny. Brought to you by Toyota, Rhino Classifieds, General Tire, and Dream Giveaway. This segment of The Skinny is brought to you by General Tire. It's more than just a slogan. Anywhere is possible with General Tire. General Tire's Grabber X3 mud terrain tire offers aggressive styling and is engineered for durability with innovative performance features that are ready to carry you through extreme mud, dirt, and rock-covered terrain. For extreme traction that's ready for anything and rugged styling to match, look no further than the Grabber X3. Make your anywhere possible by visiting GeneralTire.com today. Welcome to another edition here of The Skinny. We have a young, talented driver that will join us here today, a two-time USAC national champion. Just missed another championship a year ago. However, he did win his 50th race for Brian Clausen and Clausen Marshall Racing at the end of 2020. We're talking about Tyler Courtney has joined us in the house here. Welcome, my friend. You are a talented race car driver.
I don't know about all that, but I've had a good couple years here and just been fortunate to just kind of, ride the wave and, enjoy every minute of it.
Definitely known as a USAC premier driver, but you guys took a step out of your comfort zone and went a whole different direction. I don't say a whole different direction, but you put a wing on top of it.
Yeah, so, we kind of, we're a USAC team, at heart, and we kind of just ran its course. We kind of did everything almost everything we wanted to do, and won 2 championships. And just me as a driver, I had other things that I wanted to do, and we approached it as a team together to see if it made sense to go this route, and it did. So last year we kind of did a 50-50 season split between USAC and the All Stars Outlaws with the wing car, and we ran a little bit better than we thought we were going to. So we kind of just made the big step to go full time with the All Star Series this year, and it's been great. It's been a good first start to the season, or first half, and it was definitely a big jump to go do that, especially you're at the top of your game, so to say, in USAC, and you're taking yourself right back down to the bottom where you're a rookie and haven't proved yourself at all. So
I think you've proved yourself.
Yeah, so
I think you've done all right with it.
It's been fun because it's been tough, and it's been for me to prove not only to people but to myself that I can go do this. And it's kind of you have to take your ego and set it aside, because you're at the top of this game, but now you're nobody. So you got to take your lumps and move on, and it's worked out so far, and I feel like we're just kind of getting started.
Yeah, for the fans that are listening in, what we're alluding to here is the fact that he's made the switch from USAC over to the All-Star Circuit of Champions. Learning curve, I don't know if you want to call it that or not, because he comes in sitting here today with 5 wins and 15 top 5s and leading in the points. So, yeah, I'd say it's safe to say that you're off to a pretty good start here in 2021.
Yeah, no, if this is our learning curve, then, I'm excited for what's to lay ahead. And but I still feel as a driver I've got a lot of things that I can work on to be even better, because running with the All-Stars is tough, but when you take that next step and you go run with the Outlaws is even harder. So to be ready to go do that, there's a lot of things I got to do on driving and things like that, but it's nothing that I'm scared of. I'm actually looking forward to the challenges, and I think that's why racers do this. They want the competitive nature, but also just the challenge of how hard everything is. And I think as drivers we kind of look forward to those challenges, and the guys that excel to those challenges are the guys that make it to the top and stay at the top.
I want to tip a hat to you, the entire team. When you go back and you take a look at the entire story, obviously, of the Clausen Marshall team and what the Clausens went through, losing Brian, of course, I know a very, very good friend of yours, but his father making that decision to push forward in racing, came back to Chili Bowl that next year with a massive team and a massive effort. And speaking of Chili Bowl, 2011 Rookie of the Year Chili Bowl, as you are, but you lived that entire time. You were really a lifelong friend of that family. Walk us through that whole environment from the time you got to that team. I mean, you were literally just a wrench on Brian's car, learning from him, and finally got up to the point where you were able to drive. You learned a lot from him, and then, of course, we all lost him, and it was devastating hit.
Yeah, so I've known Brian and Tim since I was, probably 8 or 9 or 10 years old. Brian and then would come back to the quarter-minute track and, be an ambassador, things like that. And so got to the point where I was, I just turned, 14 or 15, and I was kind of, it was time to start thinking about taking the next step in my driving career. And so I, got a hold of Tim and, kind of asked him what direction I needed to go in. And he said, well, how big's your checkbook? And I said, well, I don't have a checkbook. So, and, but he offered for me to come help them that summer. Just, they just kind of, Brian had just got done with his NASCAR stint. And then they were building a full-time USAC team. So they needed some help. And, I felt like it was a good opportunity for me to go learn. And man,
I remember all that.
Yeah. The 2 summers that I got to spend with them was incredible. And, it's not just the racing, it's all the things that go along with it. You become family and things like that. And so obviously then, like, you fast forward to, 2010 and 11 when I was there, then 12, 13, and so on. I kind of branched out on my own and, built my own sprint car, and they would help me when I needed it. And, then we get to 2016, and my first USAC race that I won was at Gas City Sprint Week, and I beat Brian that night. So it was kind of almost full circle. Like I, grow up learning from him, and then, get to beat him at his own game. And he wasn't very happy that night, but the next night he came up and, he told me, hey, I'm sorry about last night. I was kind of a poor sport, and, came up and gave me a hug and said that he was proud of me and things like that. And obviously fast forward later in that summer, we lose Brian, and, get to, we get through the funeral and everything. And, obviously at this point I'm really close with the Clausens again through this obviously tough process. And and Tim comes to me. He asked if I wanted to go to dinner, so I went to dinner and asked what my thoughts were about coming to drive a midget for them. They're going to keep racing with Richard and Jennifer, and kind of build what they were going to build with Brian. And obviously my answer was 100% yes. And so we started that. The first race we ran as Clausen Marshall was with Ricky at the Leffler Memorial, and I think everything that could go wrong went wrong that night. But that's just a product of how everything went. And then so that you get to December, January, we start building the dream team, which was the first year in 2017 that we did at Chillyville. We had me, Ricky Stenhouse, Donnie Schatz, Jason Johnson, Justin Grant, and Shane Golovic. And you think of those names, that's
pretty strong group.
That's the dream team. That's the it's kind of Brian's vision that he wanted to, instead of just having a bunch of rental kids, bring a team that you could try and win every night and compete for the driller on Saturday. And we were able to won 2 prelim nights that year, and I think Justin ran 3rd on Saturday. So it was a great way to start a new team like that, and in honor of the guy that we all loved and learned from and things like that. And I think for the Clausens and myself included, the only thing we knew how to do to get past everything was just keep racing. And it's not just racing, it's a family. Racing is a family, and you see it across all forms. When we have a tragedy like that in any form of motorsports, that the whole motorsports community comes together and really makes and helps those people get through the hardest situation in their life.
Yeah, you bring up Leffler. I mean, that's another situation, and it's happened. In this sport, it's pretty vicious. The sport of sprint car racing, midget racing. I think we lose as much or more than anybody in motorsports. Unfortunately, it's still a pretty wild and tumble way to go racing on a Friday, Saturday night, and you guys are hanging it out there. That's part of the lure. It always has been, to watch these guys.
That's
come
why there's always people in
the
the stands, right?
Right.
We know it's dangerous, and the fans know it's dangerous, but they come because it is dangerous. That's
exactly
to go watch guys, put it all out there for for a NASCAR race 4 hours, or for us 30 laps or so. That's the allure of racing. It's dangerous, and
You want to go watch somebody that's crazy enough to do something that you're not willing to do.
Racing's always been dangerous, and it's always going to be dangerous. Obviously, we keep making safety improvements and things like that to minimize those situations. But at the end of the day, unfortunately, it's gonna happen. And but I always tell people that kind of question me racing. I said I could go drive my car home tonight, and somebody can hit me. I feel safer out on a racetrack because those guys are professionals. You're driving home with
most of them.
Most of them. Most of them. We won't go there, but
you're driving home with some real crazies.
With some real crazies, and so at least
that are texting and eating and putting makeup on.
Yeah, it's
chasing their beer.
I always tell them life's dangerous, so it's just a matter of what you choose to do with your life to make it fun.
It's all about timing.
Yeah.
When it is, when it's time.
It's unfortunate that's the way it is, but that's life.
It's like Forrest Lucas told me one time, it was shortly after we lost Scotty Coletta. I was, we were just kind of conversing about it at a Colts game one time. He said, the sad part of it is some people show up to watch the wreck. Yeah. You know what I mean? They're not there to watch the competition. They're there to watch the wreck. And, it seems like a kind of a backwards ass thing to do, but, it is what it is. And, I mean, the whole Brian thing, the Jason thing, I mean, I've been around this stuff a long, long time. Yeah. And when you said how old you were when you came, I was like, man, that's how old you were.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I've known him for a few years.
Yeah.
So
well, I've called all the Chili Bowl races since 2008, and I don't know why. I just feel like you should be way younger. I mean, that's what you're alluding to, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but you've been around. You've been kicking it since 2011. At Chili Bowl, anyway.
Yeah, that was my first year. Really, it was my second mid race ever. Was my Chili Bowl that year, and I had no idea what I was doing, but made the B main on Saturday, and Rico Abreu was he was a rookie that year too. We had actually a really good rookie class that year, and I just did good enough to get the award. But no, it was awesome. And then once you do Chili Bowl once, you can't not do it.
You got to go.
So, and I
know you mentioned Justin, by the way, finishing third. But if my information's correct, 2017, you finished sixth in the A main on Saturday
I think
night,
I've ran sixth twice, and Saturday's just not been that good to me. But
sixth on Saturday.
I know, but
dude, at the Chili Bowl, are you kidding me?
Just getting to that, getting to that spot.
A-main, that's a hell of a week.
I like winning, man, and it's especially that race, and it's you got Daytona 500, Indianapolis 500. You got the Knoxville Nationals, you got Chili Bowl, you have the U.S. Nationals. It's those events that you put those on your calendar at the beginning of the year that you want to win.
Kings Royal.
Kings Royal. It's just
and
sixth. Grant, I'm running sixth is no small feat at Chili Bowl, but once you get there, your only goal is to win that race, and just been close. This year we were running third and got turned over, and
you had a hell of a run. And was it this year? Was it this year that you won the heat, the qualifier, and the prelim?
I ran second on the prelim this year. Almost last few years I've ran won my heat qualifier and ran second on the prelim the last couple of years. 2017 I won heat qualifier in the prelim night.
Yeah.
We're good down there. Just when the money day comes, we're just a little off, and just that's just how hard those races are. When you get to Saturday and you got those 24 of the best guys in that building on the same track, it's not easy.
Well, when you see Kyle Larson chase it for how many years?
Yeah,
did he have to chase it before
13 years, I think.
And see him legitimately make mistakes.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about one of arguably the best in the business, right? And run the tires off of the car.
Yeah, absolutely. He's especially right now, one of the best guys.
My God.
In that building, you see, this immortal make mistakes, and you're like, how? Like if that guy,
Christopher Bell last year,
Christopher,
that's a great.
That's two of the best guys to ever do this, especially in that building.
Yeah,
it's just how that place is, and that's what makes it so special.
Exactly, and I mean, Larson was coming, and Bell was giving it everything he could, and they just kept smashing it in there. I was like, something's going to happen here. Right? I'm not sure what.
But you're there for one thing and one thing only, and that's what I know that's what's going through Christopher's head. He's like, I'm not here to running second doesn't mean
right.
So
right.
It's I understand that feeling so well. only in the past couple of years. You always think to yourself, "Are you kidding me, dude? Like, you got to walk out of there." And you do walk out with your head high if you finish, let's say you finish third at Chili Bowl, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you've accomplished something, but
Yeah.
it's win or nothing.
Yeah.
And I know sitting in drivers' meetings before the 500 starts with Ganassi, he comes in there. I mean, everybody talks, all the engineers talk, and then Chip's the last one to talk. And he says, "We have two goals when we start the season: win the championship and win the 500."
Yep.
And that's it. And it's win or nothing at the 500. That's all anybody cares about.
Yeah, and so I mean, for a midget team, that we are, our goal at the beginning of the year, not this year, but the last few years was to win the USAC championship and to win Chili Bowl. And now we have the BC 39 now. That's obviously on our list. It's winning a dirt race at the Speedway for in honor of Brian is huge.
Yeah.
So, but now that we're wing sprint car racing, our goal is to win the championship. And I think our goal is probably a little different this year. Maybe just start with making the Knoxville Nationals and then working our way up from there. And then, making both the Kings Rolls that we get to run this year. And, you just, when you're making your schedules at the beginning of the year, those are the races that you line out, and those are the ones you focus on. Obviously, we're running for a championship at the same time, but, we build a separate car just for Nationals, just for Kings Roll, things of that nature. And so we're best ready to go for when those events come around.
I'll go down this road here a little bit. I'm not an overly religious guy. Certainly the people in this room are aware of that. But with that said, I do have a belief, and I take a look at a lot of scenarios, and I got to tell you, the older I get, the more it seems to me that things don't happen by happen chance.
Right.
There's a path here. There's just too many things that line up too many times to think that there isn't something going on.
Right. I mean, that's how you landed here with me. It's a pretty big deal. But
Teaching me a lesson. So, but I can't help but think, when I look at you and your situation, and you talk about how early you came into the team and how you've grown up with that family, and then obviously the loss of Brian, and then you step in. I mean, what are the chances that you step in, and you become as good as you are? It's not like it's not like because you hopped in that car, which is good equipment, and you spoke with Brian, you had some good mentors, a good coaching, that you're going to be good.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a straight up badass race car driver. I mean, and you've beaten the absolute best, and you continue to do so. Is it me, man? I mean, I just find it a little odd that this
and me
scenario
watching,
lines up the way
right,
it is.
and I've, like I said, I've been watching you since you started. There's a few that have started that I thought were absolute weapons and thought that they should never do it, and have sorted themselves out, and some of them still haven't and still do that. The great thing about it is with you, you were always calm. You always stayed straight. It wasn't a bunch of wild. I mean, Paul Tracy's kind of an older guy, and he's still kind of driving like a weapon.
He did it at the SRX race.
Kind of.
And wiping
If
people
you look
out.
up driving like a weapon in the Webster, there's a picture of Paul Tracy sitting right there. He's a psycho.
He wiped out Labonte and then went to shake his hand. Labonte waved him off. It's like, get out of
He
here.
did his best to wipe out Elio. I don't know. Elio hung on to the thing. I don't know how he did it. But
no, I think, timing is obviously, it was impeccable, really. But obviously, I don't think that I'm in the same situation without, Brian leaving us. But I think it was, this was, almost meant to happen. I don't really know if that's the right way to say it, but it's been the best thing to happen for myself. I think, my entire team, the Marshalls, the Clausens, everybody. I think it's been an awesome experience the last 5 years that we've gotten to do this, and I think our success has just been a bonus. I think the rest of it has been us becoming a better family, and
almost therapy. You know,
like honestly, and it's been crazy. I think, and then obviously I learned from the best. The 2 summers that I got to spend with Brian, I probably learned more watching and working on the race cars than I did driving myself. And then you get to listen to his conversations with his dad, who's the crew chief and who became my crew chief, and you just learn, how they communicate, and why Brian went and did that, and how did he know that guy was going to do that? And he's like, well, I watch him when I'm not racing, I go and watch that guy, so I can know what that guy's going to do, what he tends to do. And so you take those things and you learn, and then they formed me into a championship driver. I think I was capable of winning races before I got there. I don't know if I was capable of winning championships. They kind of turned me in at, hey, we don't have to win every night. We can, if we put ourselves in the spot to win every night, we're going to win our fair share of races. But if you don't have a winning car and you're running fifth, run fifth.
Right.
And that's just, it goes a long way. But yeah, those 2 summers probably honestly did more for me than anything. And I didn't even drive a race car those 2 summers.
You mentioned it, you've referenced it a couple times, and you keep bringing up family. And I think you guys are a great example. Certainly Tim, what Tim had to do, I just can't even imagine the strength it requires to push forward after losing your son. But we constantly talk about the racing family. And it's a camaraderie that nobody really understands unless you're out there living the life. But you guys are a great example of Tim pressing forward, because he lost his son. If he stops racing, now he loses.
He lost everything.
Yeah, he's lost everything. He really has lost his family.
Yeah. And I think that's the beauty of the racing family, is that he, like you said, he lost his son. If he just gave up racing, then he lost everything that he ever had. He lost his son, and then the rest of his family. Obviously he has his family, but the racing family is second to none. Honestly, if you're ever in a bad spot, the racing family steps up in ways that you don't even believe until it happens.
Yeah, there's nothing you could yearn for that.
Right.
That if you really needed it, the racing family wouldn't step up and
the thing, and exactly, and the thing about it with Caitlin, my daughter, and her whole situation with leukemia and everything. Absolutely amazing, the outpouring. Just from my involvement in racing and everybody knowing her.
Yep.
Are you guys the same age?
I think she might be a year older than me. I think.
Okay. I thought you guys were.
Yeah, we're pretty close, though.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So it's just, and it's amazing whether it's it was more from the driver's side, the ownership side, and but there's been things that we've put on. She did a blood drive here at the shop when I was out on the road, but they had to turn people away. That's how many people they had to come and donate. So, and a lot of, Connor was here, daily, and a lot of other folks. But our first group, or one of our first people we probably ever sponsored was Cottle.
Yep. Shane.
Was Shane, and when he didn't know what car he was driving, but he was driving.
Yeah.
And we had him, Stambro, of course, Dave Darlin forever. And so it's it's something that I have a passion for, and that's probably one of the main reasons we're involved in it. But it's turned into a great business for us, because the race fan is an unbelievable loyal fan.
Absolutely.
NOS could spend money anywhere they wanted, and they have found a way to put a hell of a marketing program together around the racing.
And they've seen the return on it.
Yeah.
Because like you just said, race fans are the most loyal fans.
Unbelievably.
I get tweets all the time. People, I got an Austin to drink for supporting Tyler Courtney or Justin Grant or Chris Wyndham or Sheldon Hahn Shield. And it's just awesome to kind of, be a part of, something like that and see, how involved the fans get. And it's the reason we get to have the sponsors that we have. So it's just really cool to be a part of it.
It's pretty amazing the people that Lauren picked.
Yeah. Yeah, she picked a good crop of.
It's a great group.
Good crop of guys.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
We're going to take a quick break here. We'll be right back on the other side with more information about Tyler Courtney. This segment of The Skinny is brought to you by Rhino Classifieds. Tired of all those ads and random stuff that shows up when you're looking to buy or sell your car parts? Rhino Classifieds was created just for you. Welcome to a streamlined buying and selling app created by racers for racers and race fans. Modified cars, classic cars, race cars, that special big block you need, the trailer to move your baby around the country in. We got you at rhino.co.
Is your brother?
Yeah, I'm a twin. Yep,
right?
we got two different birthdays. He was born at 11:30 on the 22nd. I was 1:30 the next day. So we park next to each other at Chili Bowl because they have a couple cars.
Yes.
And so our pits are right next to each other. And so I'm just a driver. So I show up at 3 o'clock or so. But he's there with his cars working on them and stuff. And half people, he's like, dude, I took so many pictures today. He said I finally just. I stopped telling him I wasn't you and just took pictures and signed my name.
So that's the way Mario's brother was all the time.
Well, Aldo was him in the picture of the 63 front row because Mario got burned up. 63, wasn't that correct? Yeah, so it was right there somewhere, but it was Mario was the front row, and he was so burnt, his face was all messed up, and Aldo's the one actually in that picture.
Yeah, it's funny. It's, most people have started to figure it out now.
As soon as I talked to him, I mean, I knew you guys were.
It's he moved to Texas right when we turned 20, and so that's kind of right when I first started racing a lot. Sprint kart, and started making a name for myself, and so he wasn't around a lot for people to know that I had a twin, and so the social media and things now, people are like, oh, then so
we think we saw him in Texas.
Yeah.
But he's racing in Indiana.
Yeah. And
what is this?
Yeah, so it's it's been fun, and kind of a fun way for him to screw with fans and
so he
stuff
does he drives as well.
He races. He's got a 305 sprint car, and then he's got a modified as well that he runs down there, mostly Devil's Bowl and the area tracks around there in Dallas. And he's actually he just married Kevin Ramey. So he married his daughter about just over a year ago.
I was just going to say, I'm glad you followed up with his daughter because you said he married Kevin Ramey. I'm
married his daughter, and
it's like we're all inclusive.
Not that
here.
that's a bad thing. It's just the age difference.
Yeah,
yes.
So
to be his dad, type of thing.
One racing family into the next, and they've got a compound down there they all live on, and they've got a big shop with. I think they've got a late model, 2 modifieds, a couple midgets.
What's he doing down there?
So he works. Do you remember the Print Place people?
Yeah.
So that guy, he started out working at when it was called Print Place, and the guy sold it, and I don't know what it's called now. But so he works there. He's I don't even some kind of manager. He hired they let him hire guys and things like that. And we cool. Growing up, we were in the immersion program in Lawrence and here in Indianapolis, and so. We were fluent in Spanish, so he gets to use that quite a bit down there, being in Texas and things like that. So that helps a lot. It's funny because he's always like, my employees forget that I can speak Spanish half the time, so I catch him trying to talk crap, and then I start speaking Spanish like, oh,
busted.
Yep.
Well, that's pretty cool that he's driving a race car.
Yeah.
As well.
So he doesn't do it for a living or anything, but he has a blast doing it. So.
Was he doing quarter midgets?
Yeah, so we did quarter midgets. We
did
quarter midgets all the way through the micros, and then kind of when I started going to work for Brian, he just kind of went a different way, and then he ended up in Texas, working on micros for a buddy of ours, and then
because I remember him being around.
Yeah. So and he worked for Tracy for a couple years, or not a couple years, but for a year, and then right after he was done working for Tracy, he moved to Texas
for Tracy
Hines.
Paul Tracy.
Wines.
Oh, Tracy Hines.
Tracy Hines. Yep.
I mean, it's about
you're talking about Paul and got me.
Paul Tracy
infiltrated my brain.
We can just say you work for Krista.
Yeah. So I was in Sandusky. Yep. I saw Krista and Tracy and their family.
Yep.
So I grew up with Tracy.
Yeah.
One
of a kind.
Oh. So he every time I would see him. He would always poke fun of me. Wow, looks like you're putting some weight on, and just
being Tracy
because that's him.
Yep.
And then so I saw him. I said, "Wow, Jim, looks like your belly's growing." That's his dad.
Yeah.
Like his dad's got a little pop belly.
Looks just like his dad.
Yeah.
But it's funny. I've got a good story about Tracy. So first year racing sprint cars, I've got my own car, maybe a couple spares, things like that. So this thing, it's a heap of junk. It ain't nothing to look at. It's nothing special, but it did the job. And so we're in West Memphis, and he's parked next to me. And Tracy, he helped me out quite a bit. This isn't to rag on Tracy or anything, but so he comes up, he's looking at my car, and he's like, "Your motor plate's bent." I'm like, "Yep." He's like,
That's my trick.
Yeah. He's like, "You're not gonna fix." He's like, "You're not gonna fix it." I said, "I don't have anything to fix it with, or anything to put in it to replace it." So I said everything's square where it needs to be. I'm just gonna keep running it. So I went quick time that night and beat him in the feature. And I said, "Hey,
I'll sell you one of these."
Yeah, I said, "Hey, you might want to bend your motor plate if you want to go faster." And he just Tracy. He's like, "It shouldn't work." I said, "I agree. It probably shouldn't work, but it did tonight. So I'll take what I can get."
That tape measure doesn't lie, man.
Yeah. So
that's awesome stuff. Those stories are so cool that, when you start thinking about them,
and it's when you're doing it at the time, you don't, Tracy's a legend in our sport, obviously. And, you're getting to race with those guys and you're just doing it. So that's this same night I ran third, John Stamper won, and Dave Darlin ran second. So when you sit back and you think, you're like, all right, this is my rookie year racing a sprint car and I just ran third. I'm mad the night at the time because I ran third. Like I felt like I should have ran better than that, but I couldn't realize that I was a rookie and that two of the best sprint car drivers that have ever lived beat me that night. But now you can sit back and you're like, wow, that's pretty dang cool.
I watched Stambro so many times do so many things with a car that just didn't seem feasible. And watch him back it into a turn, I mean, it was almost like he had it in reverse, you know, going in there. And I remember we were racing the Eastern Storm. It was the first year out there, and Buckley was doing his video thing. And I don't know, anyhow, we were out there, hanging out, and it was just amazing. I think we had Hunter and John that year that we had sponsored. So, but yeah, it's so Hunter's running All Stars.
Yep.
He's on a full-time deal with that too.
Yeah. So they're full-time. They're supposed to run the whole thing, and then hit the same outlaw shows that we kind of go to, the ones that don't conflict with the All-Star thing. Go do Knoxville Nationals and Kings Royal and all those, the big races. And but yeah, his car owner, I think, is from Iowa or somewhere out there, so they tend to travel more out that way when they're on their off weekends and things of that nature.
So is Rico running all the All-Stars?
No, I don't know why he doesn't, because he's at damn near all of them. And
I know.
I think he still gets some incentives and stuff from Tony for being at most of the races and things like that. But I think he just likes having the freedom to, be able to, if he doesn't want to go to the trip that we're going to, he can, go back race in California or, go pick and choose somewhere else. He's on the where can I sell the most T-shirts at, and which is a big part of what we do and a big way of how he makes his money.
Yeah.
And so like he's in Pennsylvania this week running the Speed Week because he knows he can sell a lot of T-shirts there, and he runs pretty well up there. So places he can go run well at and sell a bunch of T-shirts.
You better hope that 14 doesn't come back to the All-Stars.
The 14 is on a roll, but no, that's awesome.
I love it. Yeah.
Good for Kerry, and I texted Ricky both nights that they won last week because I don't think I've seen him smile like that in a long time. So obviously he's been through a lot the last couple of years. So for him to have a smile says a lot.
And I'm telling you, it was I was standing in the driveway at Earl's house where Roger lives now at Eldora Thursday night with Tony sitting on the four-wheeler holding his phone like this as we're watching it on Dirt Vision. And then the next night I think we watched it. So he couldn't get it put together the third night, though, huh? Yeah,
the track was, I think, just a little fast. Not a whole lot of passing, but it rained a whole bunch the night before.
Right.
And, obviously, they're racing on Sunday. They're trying to get all the fans in and out of there as quick as they can. But it was still a pretty good race. But, yeah, I think they were just a little off there. Ended up being Sunday.
Yeah.
But, I mean, hell, winning 2 out of the 3 shows that weekend against the Outlaws ain't in any small feat.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Especially
effort.
They're still fairly, like Kerry and Ricky are just, they're still in for probably the third or fourth week together.
It's hilarious what Kerry said. He goes, and I'm sure you can elaborate. He goes, I just have to learn to trust the car more.
Yeah.
He goes, it's there. I just have to learn to trust that it's there.
Yeah, and it's just, getting in a new car is always tough. Not knowing what this guy does to the car to set it up and things like that. And, different chassis act different ways. And, yeah, absolutely. He's just got to – I think he's trusting it now. So
It didn't look like that Silver Crown car was tough to trust.
I think it's more the fact that I just love Eldora. And I don't care what I'm driving there. I just want to be fast and
you were fast.
I look at the half miles, like Eldora, Knoxville, Terre Haute, Williams Grove, Port Royal. You look at those places and you look at the guys that have won there. And, back in the day, they didn't have quarter miles. They had half miles. That's all those guys ran, half miles and miles. So you go and win at those places, you can add your name to the list of bad MFers that won there before you.
That's pretty cool.
And that's when I go to half miles, that's my goal. I want to be one of those guys and be on that list.
Time for a quick break. Don't go away. This segment of The Skinny is brought to you by Toyota. I'm kind of curious how long it took you to trust making that transition from the non-wing to the wing, because you do drive it a good bit different, but you really do count on those sideboards of the wing, really do help you out a lot.
Yeah, and so it's probably easier to go towards the wing stuff coming from the non-wing than going the other way, just because you can go trust the downforce. But learning what to do with that downforce has been probably the harder thing for me, learning where you aim that left sideboard is where the car goes. So learning to, hold your arm straight and turn as late as possible.
Like a rudder.
Yeah, it's just like a rudder.
Yeah.
And it's cutting through the air. So when you turn it this way, it opens that air up and, lays the car down and things like that. So you, especially at a half mile, you're trying to be as straight as possible to make sure your car is stuck the whole time. Anytime you open, like a place like Knoxville, anytime you open up your car a little bit, the sideboard is at least a tenth. And when you're fighting for a tenth is a lot.
That's right.
Yeah. So it's that's been the toughest part for me to learn. And then honestly, getting like when the track slows down, not slowing down as much as we do in the non-wing stuff. We're still trying to keep the wing speed up to keep your car loaded. Has been harder for me just to trust going fast but slow at the same time, if that makes sense. And
whose car did Brian run out there in Knoxville?
So he drove
Elk Grove car.
He drove a couple different cars. The last one he was driving when he won the Friday night show, I think in 15, was Matt Wood's car, the Elk Grove.
Okay, that's
car.
what I thought it was.
And then he drove the B-Dubs car. I think they made the show the year he drove the B-Dubs car. But yeah, he drove for a couple different guys out there.
Were you up in the suite with us when I bought that in suite at Knoxville?
I think I was,
where
actually.
You're supposed to have 10 people, and we had about 30.
Yeah, I think nobody actually listens to it.
The reason is they don't want to see it cave in.
Yeah.
We didn't think about any of that. Everything was going great.
Yeah, we'll worry about it later.
Yeah. Go get another drink. Everything will be fine here. Yeah, I was just thinking about that. I remembered watching Brian go to it, and I mean, listen, Matt Wood has exceptional stuff. We've sponsored some guys that drove the B-Dubs car, and good stuff too. But the equipment that Clausen Marshall has is nothing short of extraordinary. I mean, it's pretty amazing to watch some of the things that go on there.
Yeah, and having a car, the car owners that we do, we have a meeting tomorrow, but always in our meeting, one of the topics is, what do we need? If we need anything at all? And because Richard, he said he never wants us to have the excuse that we didn't have the best thing possible. And when you have a car owner like that, it makes your life a lot easier. And you know that you're always going to have the best stuff to go compete with the best in the world. And it makes a big difference for sure. So I'm very fortunate to have the people behind us that I do.
Do you get excited? I mean, just recently, Kyle Larson wins, Rico's second, you're third. I know you're chasing points.
Yeah.
I also know you want to win.
Yeah.
But when Kyle shows up, there's that little extra spark. It's like, I know he's not in the hunt for points. He's not going to threaten me there, but I just want to straight up beat him. Yeah,
you want to, because especially right now, if you can beat that guy, you're pretty damn good.
Yeah.
And Kyle's a good friend of mine, but yeah, people complain when he comes around. I love when he comes around because it gives you that guy. It gives you
want to know where you're at,
the
benchmark.
Raises the bar.
You know how good you are.
Yeah.
Or you can see, hey, all right, we're not that good. We need to get better. And yeah, so I love when he shows up, and whether he kicks our ass or not, your goal is to beat him. And I've been fortunate to do it a couple of times. It doesn't happen very often, but it's really fulfilling when you get to do that. But he's changed the game for sure, and made not just sprint car or midget racing better. He's making the NASCAR guys step up their game, late model guys step up their game, and hell, I think if you put him on a dragster, he'd probably do the same thing there.
Yeah, he's a natural. I think we've heard Tony Stewart say,
"Oh yeah,
a lot of people have to think about what they're doing in a race car, where it just all makes sense.
He's automatic.
It's just automatic. Yeah, it's just happening.
It's kind of just like a video game for him, honestly. He might not see it that way, but when you watch him, it looks like it, and yeah, it's impressive. It's cool to watch. Because at the end of the day, I'm still a race fan, so just to see the guy do that and night in and night out in different race cars is just incredible, really.
I text him after he won. Yeah,
because when you as a driver, I know how hard it is to do that. And so when he's going to all these different things and winning in all of them, like driving them is one thing, winning in them is another, and he wins in everything that he gets in.
Yeah, I texted him after he won his first Cup race, or back. And I just told him I talked to him when all of the stuff had happened and everything, and just said, listen, man, this is a minor setback. You'll get things sorted out and be better than ever. And over the years, I mean, I've watched a lot of people do things that have set them back in their career. Generally, it wasn't something like that. It was usually something where they had there was a few guys that we helped that unfortunately had some substance abuse issues, and so they get out of there. And it's like, listen, if you want it bad enough, you'll get back, and
you'll make it happen.
Yeah, and
there's one person that controls what you do, and it's yourself.
Yeah, and I texted him after he won. I said you deserve it.
Yep,
I said
absolutely.
And so I read an article the other day and can't remember where it was at now, but it says Kyle Larson is Rick Hendrick's biggest problem, because now it's like, okay, now what do we do?
Yeah, now what do we do? But that's a good problem to have. That's high class problems, and that's a good one to have. So, but Kyle's a pretty loyal guy. I don't think he's going to go anywhere from Rick anytime soon.
And listen, confidently, nobody else could have pulled off what Rick pulled off.
No,
because he told General Motors, by the way, this is who's coming.
Yeah,
and he is driving that car.
Yeah, you kind of look at Rick or Roger. They're like the gospel. Whatever they say, people believe in. And if Rick Hendrick's coming along and saying, "Hey, we're going to give this guy another chance," then everybody's probably going to give him a second chance.
Yeah,
that's exactly right. Yeah, they kind of supersede the rule. I don't want to say the rules, but the general population, if you will,
and they can take a lot of the sting out of it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Very respectful.
Well, people look at them and say, if they see that there's an opportunity inside of this guy, then maybe we're missing something.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I loved it. I mean, I know Willie T, well enough, and he called him after it all happened, and he said, if I thought he was a racist, I never would have called him.
Yep, absolutely.
And it was kind of interesting what Willie and Robin Miller wrote the article. I read the article. That's where I got it. But Willie T said he was telling what he told Kyle, and he said, now this doesn't mean that you need to go out into the African American community and start trying to fit in. He goes, that just is going the exact wrong way with this, and but like I said, I mean, and him coming from his heritage, I mean, my wife's Indonesian, so it's we're all just people, man.
We make mistakes.
We can make mistakes, and
it's a matter of how you learn from them and how you handle the rest of it. And like I just said before, there's one person that can make everything happen in your life, and it's yourself. So
yeah, good or bad.
Yeah, good or bad. Absolutely, that's life.
Right, in a nutshell.
So when you see Kyle come along and you know, hey man, there's a path right there. Would you love to work your way up into a Cup car? I know it sounds like, oh, of course I want to be in a Cup car, but you're I think the sport has changed to a degree where you can make a living doing what you're doing, and it's a pretty good living, and you're driving a really cool race car.
Yeah.
For a career, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I get asked this question a lot, and obviously, your goal as a little kid growing up, you're watching Jeff and Tony, those guys on Sunday, and knowing that they came from doing the same thing that I did. So your goal is always, obviously, you want to be a Cup guy. That's like, I grew up in Indianapolis, loved the 500, but I was just like, the guys that I grew up watching went to NASCAR instead of IndyCar and things like that. I mean, obviously I know Tony did great things in an IndyCar too, but NASCAR was what we watched on Sundays. That's what we did. And so, my goal growing up was always to, try to get there. Now I'm in the spot where I'm 27 years old. I don't have a gajillion dollars behind me to go down south. I think I have the talent to be competitive down there, and I don't have the time anymore to do what a Chase Briscoe did, and give up everything that he had here to go sweep floors and work his way up from the bottom to the top and rightfully earn his right to race on Sunday. So I'm very comfortable where I'm at, racing sprint cars for a living, and my goal is to be a World of Outlaw sprint car driver now. Not saying I wouldn't, like, if someone came along and said, hey, you want to run a truck race here or there, if it made sense, I would 100% go do it, and to say that I did it. But my goals now have changed to be the best sprint car driver that I can be, and that's what I'm comfortable with. And like you said, I can make a pretty good living at it and have a lot of fun doing it.
Absolutely. I mean, I've constantly succumbed to the fact that you've got to enjoy the ride, man. Yeah. I mean, here's the goal, and that's great. Keep your goals up there and keep striving to get there. But man, make sure you enjoy this ride. The ride you're on, dude, is pretty wicked. It's pretty awesome.
Coming. I got to be a part of Brian's first championship as a crew guy, and that was in 2010. And in 2019, I won my first midget, 18 won the sprint car championship, but the midget one kind of felt full circle because his first championship was in a midget, and almost 10 years later, I'm doing the same thing on my own, and so just enjoying that, and then kind of going out on a new limb here, and having the success that we're having is just kind of surreal, but something that doesn't ever get to happen that often, if ever, and you just enjoy it, man. I never thought I'd get to drive race cars for a living, so the fact that I get to do it now is just awesome. Like, I don't know anybody that, unless you don't like racing, that wouldn't want to drive race cars for a living.
I couldn't agree with you more.
I can't fit in them, so I don't want to drive them.
We're going to take a quick break here. When we come back on the other side, we'll wrap things up, get some final thoughts from Tyler Courtney. This segment of The Skinny is brought to you by Dream Giveaway. Dream Giveaway has been giving away high-end American muscle cars to raise money for charity since 2007. Dream Giveaway is known for giving away classic and new muscle and paying the federal taxes so the winners don't have to. For $25, you can jump in the game, and part of that goes to charity. You'll have a chance at winning some of the coolest cars on the planet. Check it out at dreamgiveaway.com.
We always ask everybody, where did you start?
Yep.
How did you get started? I mean, and I bring this up all the time. Marcus Ericsson, right?
Mm-hmm.
Marcus Ericsson, he started out racing go-karts in Europe out of the back of his dad's paint van.
Yep.
I'm like, I love that. This guy ends up in F1, and in Formula One, and then he comes over here, and it was actually kind of entertaining. I got to tell this little tidbit where, you come over from F1, you're a big deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we were like, so tell us what your first impression of Indy was. And they were like, and he's like, listen, I've raced this. I mean, he was naming off all these F1 tracks. He goes, nothing ever like that.
And the 500 is very hard to explain to anyone until they go.
Yeah, and he said he came out of turn 4, and it was like the thing went down to one car lane. Yeah. It's just all the people on both sides, and
so I've spotted. I think I've done maybe 7 500s. I did a couple with Hinchcliffe. The first one I did was with Mikhail Lotion. And then I did one with Jay Howard. And then I've done a couple with Jack Harvey.
Was that in 17 with Jay?
When he with Dixon? Yes, it was.
Wow.
So
Turn 1 or turn 3?
I was in turn 1.
Oh boy.
And so,
Oh, boy.
dude, I'm on the radio like, hey, they're like, I actually didn't even say anything. Something broke.
Yeah.
I think I'm not really sure. But yeah, it was scary because I was like, man, did I do that? And everyone like, no, it's how it happened. And but yeah, so I've done that one. Then I was in turn 3 when Hinchcliffe crashed. Like, so I'm this 18, 19-year-old kid, and here's James Hinchcliffe and
clinging to life.
Yeah, and like I'm like, whoa, like, and that's like obviously the 500, but until something like that happens, you kind of forget about it because I was like the 6th day we're running just 100 laps around that place and nobody really crashed, and then here's James, and then obviously everything that happened after that, but then got to come back the next year and we sat on the pole. So as a 20-year-old kid, it's pretty dang cool to be on the pole and get up at 5 a.m. and go to the track. They got the car on the front. We're taking pole pictures and front row pictures, and so to get to experience something like that is really cool. But yeah, the 500 is unreal. So I've been in turn 1 for most of them, and to stand up there for opening ceremonies and all that, and I got chills right now just thinking about it. It's just
I'm right with you.
Yeah.
There's no way to describe the pageantry, the feeling, the electricity.
Yep. And it was for the 100th one, so the place was jam packed.
Oh, there was a 500,000 people there.
It was unreal, and they brought the bald eagle up that flew down. He was literally like, I have a picture with him, just like right here, and the bird was older than me.
On the spotter stand.
Yeah, on the spotter stand, because they had his blinders on, and as soon as they took the blinders off, they had the little thing shining to call him down there, and he flew straight down there. It's really cool. It's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm old. I'm going to fly to whatever that is.
Yeah.
I know they feed me when I land down there. So
the last couple years I did for Meyer Shank, and then I didn't get to this year because I had a race of my own, and of course,
that'd have been a pretty good one
Meyer
to do it for.
Meyer Shank goes on to win the 500, but that was really cool for those guys, and they work really hard at it. Jim Meyer and Mike Shank are two really good dudes.
Yeah, Michael Shank is he's a hustler.
Yeah,
and I'm telling you, he fights it.
Yep.
And
scrap from nothing, right?
Absolutely.
He came from nothing.
He's won the biggest races. He's won the 24. He's won the 500 now. And
it's wild.
It's
from Ohio.
Yeah, a little dude from Ohio just wanted to go racing, right? And made it happen.
And Jim Meyer really, really helped accelerate that and make that happen. So
that's all it takes. One guy to believe in you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that's I think that's one of the cooler parts about the Clausen Marshall thing too. Marshall wouldn't be anything without Clausen, and vice versa.
Yeah, it's
it's just such a cool it's a cool chemistry between the two, and so all right. So I got to ask the question. We may have to edit this out, but I have to ask the question. So is Richard Marshall related to the guy that was married to?
See, I've been asked this question before, and I honestly do not. I already know what you're going to ask. I honestly do not know the answer.
Anna Nicole,
so
the old man that was married to her.
Yeah, and I don't know why I've never asked him, but I guess I should. But yeah, I don't think so, because I feel like that was something. I would feel like that would be something that would get brought up over a couple beers or something like that. But
you would think so, right? But like the same thing with me. Like I bet at Knoxville
because at the same time, like we're like, well, that guy had money, and that's where Richard got his money. Richard made all of his own money. Like
did he?
Yeah,
it's probably not the same deal.
He's worked his ass off, and like he's come up from nothing. And same with Jennifer. Jennifer was the same way before she met Richard. She
was in fitness, right? And he was in the oil business, correct?
And so they've both worked really hard for what they've got, and still work hard. Richard, I don't think Richard ever. He says he's retired, but I don't think he's actually retired. He's always got something going on outside of racing. I know lately he's been big into, I think, the real estate market. They got a house in Vale, and so there's a bunch of property up there that he was kind of looking into and things like that. And
those are motivated personalities. They never stop.
Yeah, they just. It's cool to see and he gets his mindset on something, he does it, and that's how he attacks life, and that's obviously why he's so damn successful. And it's cool to have those people around you because it helps you become successful at the same time, and you can learn a lot of things from those people that
and just the way they do
things, and they're never. I can always, if I've got questions about things like that, I can always go to them, and they've always got the answer. And if they don't have the answer, they know somebody that does. So
yeah, and I mean that was the thing. I mean, I traveled with Forrest Lucas for a long time, and just out of pure friendship more than anything, and I'm telling you, one, he's beyond words of funny, and two, he's one of the smartest people I know, and I mean he's just amazing in all of his in his infinite wisdom, if you will, and talk about coming from nothing. I mean he did it. Still, my favorite picture, I mean, is where he's got like the afro and the big black mustache driving that cab over semi. It's like, I told Morgan, I go, that's my favorite picture by all means. So, but no, I mean, it's I think anywhere you want to go, man, you're going to go there. So I'm proud of you for what you've done, and it's exciting to watch because. We helped Cody Swanson and have for a long time. Cody's kind of at that age. It's like, okay, well, what's the next step? And we ran him in ARCA. He was successful in that, and
he's good in anything he gets in.
Yeah, and so it I want you to fulfill your dreams, but you know what, don't fulfill other people's dreams. You know what I mean? If you're happy doing what you're doing, then keep doing it, man.
Yeah, and I kind of learned that, a few years ago, that you can't live for other people. You got to live for yourself and do the things that you want to do. And I get to wake up and do what I want to do every day. And
big hairy winning machine.
Yeah. So I love it, man. It's it's been a cool journey, and just one that I hope that doesn't stop here anytime soon.
Before we wrap things up here, what is the plan? So obviously All-Star Circuit of the Champions, but you said that the goal is World of Outlaws. So how long do you stick with All-Stars and then make the move?
It's just going to be whatever makes sense, honestly. Tony's built a great series, and they keep making it better and better. So if it makes sense to just keep running with them, we're probably going to keep doing that. I think the next logical step would be, to either do another year running the All-Stars or do a year of like a true outlaw schedule. Hit a bunch of All-Star shows, hit the outlaw shows, go to the outlaw shows in California at the tracks we haven't ever ran at or anything like that, and do it with no pressure. Because when you commit to run the outlaw deal, you go out there, you race for points, and it doesn't matter if you're 12th in points or not. You're still racing against the other guys, and so if you're out there, sucking, it takes all the fun out of it. So we can go out there and if we suck, it didn't count for anything. We didn't. I mean, obviously, you
go out there to learn. You need
going out there to learn.
Much like you did last year, a partial All-Star season.
You just go out and learn and hit those tracks that you haven't got to go to yet, and then that way you've got a notebook to go full time outlaw racing, and you're ready to go and do that sort of thing. So because you can't just show up with the Outlaws and expect to just win. Those guys,
you can't just show up and expect to Larson the Outlaws.
Yeah, it's just not. And hell, even this year he hasn't shown up and Larson the Outlaws this year. He made everyone step up their stuff, and when he shows up now, I think obviously he's in a different situation now, but he's almost a little normal when he shows up with the Outlaws. I say that I think he's still won one or two outlaw shows already this year, but when you're coming off the year that he had last year, you're just used to him showing up.
Yeah, right.
If I was a Cup owner, a NASCAR owner, IndyCar owner, that had drivers, I would encourage them to go do what he does.
Yeah, and I think you see more guys in the Cup Series going and running, kind of going back to what they grew up racing. Chase goes back and runs the super late model stuff now. Ryan Preece has gone back and run a lot of his modified races.
I saw Briscoe's running a wing deal.
Yeah, Briscoe's going I think you see more guys, because just racing helps you. And so Larson runs 100 races a year. That's going to help you more than anything. Just racing and anything.
And they used to raise hell with them. Hendrick was huge.
He was one of the.
Him and Gibbs.
Yep.
Both of them, but and Gibbs maybe worse, but you know, they would push against that worse than anyone.
so
and
now,
it's like
especially
these
now,
are more fans. Let's get them watching on Sunday to try to
He did a
build this
media
thing.
meeting after one of his races, and they were questioning him, and he said, one of them said, you know, do you think it helps you to go to a sprint car back to here? And he said, I absolutely think it helps. He said, most of the guys out here, he said, they're not going to be in a race car now for another week. He said, I'm going to be in a race car another 3 or 4 times before next week.
And all your motor senses are ready to go. And obviously, 500-mile race is different than a 30-lap race, but you're still using all those same muscles and senses that you need to drive. Your brain is ready to go. Yeah. And he knows when the chase starts or the playoffs, you'll see him back it down until that's over.
Sure.
And because his goal now, I mean, he's a Cup guy. He wants to win the Cup championship, and I think that's he knows it's for real. It's not something just go play around in. And but I think until then he's going to keep doing this because it's working for him.
Yeah,
I think
it's working.
And Christopher Bell's running a sprint car the next 2 nights. I think you'll see him get back in the sprint car. Depending on what Coach Gibbs allows him to do.
That's why I was getting ready to say, which is pretty amazing with Gibbs. But man, you can't deny the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
Like with what
those guys
Kyle's
got
done.
there doing what they did. There's no reason it's going to keep helping him.
Right.
And so that's cool. Racing's fun.
Awesome stuff, man. Keep your eyes on him. He drives a 7BC, sponsored by NOS for Clausen Marshall Racing, chasing the championship in the All-Star Circuit of Champions. And who knows, you might see him out on the West Coast taking some notes somewhere along the way as well. Tyler, Courtney, thank you very much, man. We appreciate you spending some time with us here on The Skinny.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you. I had a blast.
Thanks for being with us here on The Skinny. This episode has been brought to you by Toyota, Rhino Classifieds, Dream Giveaway, and General Tire. For the latest in sunglasses, optical frames, accessories, and apparel, be sure to check out fatheads.com. That's Fatheads with a Z. Production facilities provided by Fatheads Eyewear Studios. All rights reserved.